All right, we're back. Week one is in the books. This is our second time recording this intro. We had a little bit of technical difficulties the first time around.
Yeah.
But yeah, week one of college football is in the books. It's been a long time coming. We saw some amazing games. Very eventful week one. We got a lot of games to talk about. As you can probably tell, we are missing our dear friend Noah Kreitz this week. He is out celebrating his 1 year anniversary with his girlfriend. So congrats, Kreitz and
Congrats, man.
Maya. 1 year in the books. That's huge. So yeah, Dak, general takeaways from week one before we get into some of these scores.
Yeah, for the second time. Week one, I would say this was as good as you could have asked for as a college football fan. Uh, I know for a fact, so 4 top 10 teams lost, which was the most ever week one. I would be surprised if this wasn't the most top 10 matchups and even most top 25 matchups that we've had in a week one. I feel like usually you get one really good game Saturday night, a good game Sunday night, which in the past has been LSU, which has been disappointing, and then a game Monday night. But usually you don't get a full slate Saturday of just great college football, 2 fantastic games on Sunday. And so every game for the most part was close. And as long as you weren't a fan of one of the teams that lost, this weekend was about as good as it gets as a college football fan. Even if you are a fan of a team that lost, most of the games, like I said, were pretty close. And they were marquee top 25 matchups that were non-conference. So you got 11 games, a full conference schedule to get your team back and get it right. And so I think there's nothing better than being battle tested early because you know what you got to fix early on. And so there's a lot this season to look forward to. And I think there are some conferences that even after week one, they're shaping up to be a little bit different than what we anticipated, specifically the ACC, which did not go the way that we thought it was going to go, but still went a different direction than what most people thought it was going to go.
This is true. Some teams won that we did not think were going to win, and some teams lost that we did not think were going to lose. So that kind of takes us into the first game we're going to hit on. Dak made a very bold claim about this team in our first episode last week. I did as well, not as bold, but still fairly bold. Dak had North Carolina playing Clemson in the ACC championship. Both teams lost this past weekend, one in a little bit more embarrassing fashion. And that was also my ACC championship as well. I just did not have North Carolina winning. But yeah, Monday night, UNC game. We've been harping on them all season. We got all of our friends to ride them with us. And we ended up with egg on our face pretty much. But yeah, first drive, they looked amazing. Gio Lopez looked like he had command of the offense. Great scripted drive. They honestly, the very first drive, it was like 10 yards every single play to go downfield and score.
That place was
rocking. They looked like
too.
It was rocking. Crowd was electric. Yeah. You got Randy Moss, Michael Jordan in attendance. It really looked like it was going to be in North Carolina whopping within the first 2 minutes. It looked like they were going to win this game easily. But
I was going to say, do that first drive. You can see figure the background here. That's funny. But that very first drive, they didn't have a single negative play. It was cool watching them walk out. It looked like an NFL intro with Belichick walking out. He had a whole group of people around him. They had the lights going all throughout the stadium. North Carolina Stadium probably hasn't been that packed in a minute, maybe during the Drake May years, I guess.
But I don't even think so. I don't think really to be honest, I don't know if it's ever been that level of packed.
I don't either. Like I'm sure they've had Michael Jordan at games before, but Randy Moss, definitely haven't had Randy Moss at a UNC game.
And that the vibes. The intro had the vibes of a UFC fight, is what it felt like.
It did. It did. It was prime time. It was prime time Monday night. There was nothing else on, which will be the only time you probably have a North Carolina football game like that, where there's absolutely no other sports going on except for that. And they did the walkout, the intros. You had Herbie and Reese Davis on the call, and that first drive, they didn't have a negative play. Gio Lopez looked great. He didn't miss a throw. They marched all the way down the field, scored a touchdown. Then they got a defensive stop. And I think all three of us, you, me, and Kreitz, looked at each other and we were like, what if they're actually just nice? We said, what if they're Colorado, like what Colorado was the first year under Dion, but actually good?
Yeah.
And then obviously we saw how it went, and it took a major turn, a bad turn.
It was a very slow descent into madness, I guess you could say, because they looked so good on the first drive that even after TCU went up 14-7, it was still like, there's a lot of time left. They could come back. Like, they looked really good on that first drive. Nope, they got destroyed. Like, it was not even close. They ended up pulling Gio Lopez. Gio Lopez, 4 of 10 on the night, had a 1.9 QBR rating. 1.9.
That's really bad. That's really bad. He was 4 of 10.
4 of 10, 1 interception, 69 yards. And for insult to injury, Bleacher Report threw the poop emoji next to his name for his
That's
stat.
tough. I would be curious because they threw up the stat. I think he went like an hour and a half without completing a pass. Because I think he completed, I think he completed 4 passes on that first drive. And then he didn't complete a pass after that, I'm pretty sure.
Kreitz was kind of saying this when we were talking about the game after. The script for that first drive was amazing, considering how the rest of how the offense looked the rest of the game.
I don't understand how you can, like, a script aside. Obviously, they say the first drive is always scripted. Script aside, how do you look that bad after the fact? And to give up, they gave up 48 points. Granted, there was a pick 6 in there. But for any Bill Belichick defense, I know the difference between college and NFL, and he's got a bunch of new guys in from transfers. But to give up 48 at home in that fashion, it didn't even make sense. Like, it was just an avalanche after TCU scored their first touchdown. Like, it got bad. And I think
especially
when we turned it off was the pick 6.
After the epic intro, too. It was like, how are you going to let all that happen to you after you had everyone show out for your first game?
I know. But I will say, and for the people watching this episode who did not watch episode 1, go watch episode 1 because we don't need to do like the whole North Carolina take again. But in short, I picked North Carolina to win the ACC because I thought Clemson would be the best team, and which even that might be different now. I thought Clemson was for sure going ACC championship game. If you go look at North Carolina's schedule is super easy. And I said they could get, before the game started on Monday, I would like to say that I did look at Kreitz and I was like, they could get blown out tonight and my take will remain the same. I was like, they have enough easy games because they're going to lose to Clemson too, but they have enough easy games to slowly get better and get right under Belichick, where maybe they go 9-3 or 10-2. And then once you get to an ACC championship game, it's Bill Belichick versus Dabo Swinney. You just have to win one. And so the logic behind the take, I think, remains the same. The schedule is still just as easy. They got blown out week 1. That's fine. But I'll be honest, that was about as bad as they can look. And that was the first time I started getting a little nervous on the take because they might suck.
Yeah. And I will say, you did say that they could get blown out and it wouldn't matter. But as you also said, that was about as bad as it gets without actually getting shut out. But I will say that I'm looking at their schedule right now. They do have they play at Charlotte next week. I don't know if Biff Poggi's still the coach there, but if he is, that could be a frisky one. Watch out, Bill Belichick.
Hopefully not.
But then they also have Richmond at home right after that before they go play at UCF, and then at home they get Clemson at home. So we'll see. Maybe they can get things sorted out here in these next 2 what should be cupcake games, and maybe they get things turned around a little bit. Maybe they at least make a game out of that Clemson game in the first game. We'll see. But yeah, a lot of time left to improve. Long season, very easy schedule. So I would say, although it's grim, about as dark as it can be right now, I wouldn't say all hope lost for the UNC and the ACC championship yet.
I'm still on the Air Jordan train. I am. And that one other small tidbit, Max Johnson, he played as a freshman at LSU and transferred. Last year he broke his femur and they almost had to amputate his leg. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, he had to have 5 surgeries, and they considered amputate. It would have been his entire leg because it was like the scars are crazy. But they never thought he'd walk again. He almost lost his leg. That's the guy who came in and replaced Gio Lopez, and he threw a touchdown pass to his brother, Jake Johnson,
Oh, wow.
which is pretty cool. An even
That is
cooler
pretty sick.
stat, he's 24 years old, same age as Jordan. And
Wow.
so maybe that's what North Carolina needed, a good omen like that to have their season flourish after.
I will say he did play. He played pretty good when he came in. Like considering what they were getting out of Gio Lopez before. Before we move on, I also do want to give a shout out to, I can't even remember if we said it last week, but Dax Furious dog, Josh Hoover out of TCU.
For real.
Kid played well. He balled out. I mean, TCU in general just played insanely well. But yeah, quick shout out to Josh Hoover, Furious dog as well.
Second.
All right. So we'll keep it going here. We'll keep it rolling. I'm just going to run through some of these scores. We don't have to talk about all of them from the top 25, but if we want to chime in on a few of them, especially some of these bigger ones, we definitely should. So Thursday night, we had Boise State, South Florida. The first real upset of college football this year. South Florida smoked Boise State. That was not even close. I took Boise State 5.5. I know a lot of other people who did too. And we all lost a lot of money, our first bets of the season from Hobbistown.
Yeah, I avoided that one. I did not ride with the fellas. I don't feel good about it, but as they started getting blown out, I was all right. Boise,
you can look back on and feel good about.
They're not the same without Genty. That's all there is to it, really. Like they couldn't move the ball. They have the same quarterback, Madsen, I think his name is. Yeah,
he does not got it. He does not got the same Genty juice to carry them by himself. South Florida, I will say they play Florida this week and then Miami next week. After
Florida, that could be a good one.
Those could both be solid ones. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they looked pretty good. So who knows?
I'll be interested to see what that line is for Florida, South Florida.
Yeah.
Illinois, Western Illinois. We don't really need to say anything there. Illinois smoked them. Congrats to them and Brett Bielema.
Do you really mean that?
I did mean it. Congrats to them. That's an in-state win, in-state rivalry win. That's good for them.
I'm not a big fan. I'm not the biggest Illinois guy. So
I'm not either. But, I'll give them their kudos for week 1. All right. Now we're getting into some of the good games. So, we'll just start it off with the first one we watched on Saturday. First one probably everyone watched. We were out and about at Rustic Tap here in Austin, Texas for Texas, Ohio State. And I'll let you start us off here on this one, Doc.
Yeah. So to honestly kick it off, before kickoff even happened to this game, Lee Corso made his final picks. He went 6 for 6 as it was written. And I think I said it to you before the game. I wanted to take Texas the whole time going into it because I think they ended up being plus money. But we both said Lee Corso was 1,000% going to end with the mascot that he started with, which was Ohio State. It was Brutus. And I was like, it might not even matter. That's just good juju going into the game. And so I felt like Ohio State was going to win. He picked Ohio State. All of that being said, I still bet $50 on Texas, even though I said that before the game. And they obviously lost. But it was cool to see. Like, Lee Corso's obviously lost a step. He's old as tits. He's 90. And he should have hung up the cleats probably 5 years ago. But I know for myself and probably you and a bunch of other people too, like, that's why I woke up watching every single Saturday morning. Like, that was college football. Like, used to get up at 5 a.m. to try to go to game day in Ann Arbor. That was like a big event and stuff. And so that was cool to see. The game itself was maybe not the coolest to see. People said both defenses looked really good, which is fair. But I felt like both offenses just had no rhythm to it, probably because you have 2 brand new starting quarterbacks, even though Arch played a few games last year. They had no rhythm. Nobody could get anything going, really. Texas had a little bit going on the ground, but I felt like in the first half, they were just getting stuffed up the middle. Both teams are always going to have a great defense, but they're both loaded with weapons too. And Ultimately, it kind of came down to, could Texas make a play in the second half, which they did make that one corner of the end zone. That was a pretty good throw by Arch.
That was one of
But
the
when
few.
they really needed a first down and some short, quick throws, they were inside the 10 2 times and they couldn't score. Like it just didn't look like Texas is at their peak form, and they shouldn't be. But I think they got a lot to address offensively, and I think they could have just used a game or two to get Arch going in like one of those tune-up games. You know what I mean?
I mean, it's probably as tough of a, outside of maybe a couple of places, probably as tough of a place as you can go for your first road start. I will say, I mean, that's what most of the Arch defenders, that is what they're saying. And I'm not saying I'm an Arch hater, but I feel like 2 years in the wings still should probably be ready to go. And I was expecting a little bit more out of him this game. So yeah, I mean, I don't think he's gonna look like that all season. I think he's gonna be fine. Like, I think he's gonna be a good QB, probably a really good QB for Texas. Yeah. And Texas is gonna be a really good team this year, I think. Still, I don't think this game changes any of that. But yeah, I mean, Julian saying he didn't look amazing either. He didn't look bad. He was just pretty much game manager for them. Carnell Tate made a really great grab for them to get one of those touchdowns. But yeah, to be honest, it was a not very cool game, as you said earlier on, especially for us. We were in the heat. We were sweating our butts off in Rustic Tap. Very hot, a lot of people packed like sardines, in a very boring game to watch at that while we were packed in, sweating our ass off.
That was probably the sweatiest I've ever been there, like without a doubt. I was so hot.
It definitely. I wore a black T-shirt, and you could still see my sweat through my black.
Yeah, you looked at me. You were like, "Can you see the sweat on me?" You're like, "Is it worse on my back or my front?" And I was like, "It's straight on the gut."
Like the belly sweat is killer. It's the armpits and the belly. It's the first spot it goes.
The belly sweat was so bad.
I was wearing some dark enough pants that the swash was not showing.
I get the really bad swash every single time, and I could just feel it, and it was just dripping down my face and my neck. It was so bad,
dude. This might be TMI, but that even on the golf course, even playing basketball, and this was probably just because we were just standing there, we weren't moving, but it was one of the first times in my life I could feel beads of sweat going down my back onto my ass.
No, yeah,
it was a very crazy feeling.
I'll get that if I'm working out, but we were standing there. I literally felt sweat drip like from my chest down and from my back down. Like I could feel it dripping as we were there.
Yeah. It was brutal. It's still a good time. It's never a bad time at Rustic Tap. I'll say that. But it was definitely not the best watching experience, and definitely not the most entertaining game.
I have a small take. So I feel like if this would have been a night game, and it's probably just because the crowd environment would have been better, so it would have been a little bit louder. But I feel like when it's a night game and it's low scoring and defensive, even if it's sloppy, it'll kind of be like, oh, this isn't a great game. But you just get some of that magic at the end. Like there's just the magic to the night game. And whereas when it's a day game and it's super low scoring, I feel like most people are like, I'd rather just be doing anything else almost. Or like, I wish I wasn't tuned into this right now. And you just don't get the crazy finishes like you do for a night game. And so if that would have been a night game, people maybe would have walked away and been like, you know what? That was a defensive battle. Great game. But the fact that it was a day game, it was like, man, we sat down at 11 a.m. That's Central, but we sat down at 12 o'clock and just watched 3 hours as the sun was beating down on us of some pretty mid football. But two teams that'll be good later on.
I agree. Two teams. I mean, Ohio State, I'll just say this about them before we move on. Yeah. Hate to say it. We both hate to say it, but the defense looked great. Matt Patricia did a great job game planning for Texas. So we'll see how that continues throughout the season. I think Texas is going to be fine. The wideouts did have some drops, mainly Jeremiah Smith. He had, and what was it? Within 4 plays, he had 2 drops. So
yeah.
I mean, probably nothing to be concerned with. Ohio State, I forget who they play next week, but it's like, I don't even think it's an FBS school. I think it's like Grambling State or something like that. So I think their next tough game is in a few weeks against like Illinois at Illinois.
I think
So
Texas is the same way. Texas doesn't play anybody until I think their next big game, I want to say, is maybe Oklahoma in October. They
yeah,
got a
I'd
light
be,
schedule.
yeah. So yeah, I mean they'll both be fine. Boring game, and kind of like you were saying, if it was a night game, it could be different because
Different
at
vibe.
some point here we're gonna get to a night game that we watched also at Rustic Tap.
Yep.
That now that I'm thinking about it and looking back at it, it was definitely more entertaining, but wasn't a ton different from this game.
Similar. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just gonna keep going down the line here. We have Penn State, Nevada. Probably not much to say there.
Nope.
They
Nothing.
smoked them. Jake was right. What was it? The
It
minus
was like
44.
43 was the line or something.
So I guess they did not hit that, but 46-11 still. So they still smoked their season opener like they always do.
Maybe it was in the 30s. I don't know. They had to have been close. I guess it's just they creamed them.
Georgia, honestly, I'm gonna be honest, did not watch a second of this game, Georgia and Marshall, but they won 45-7. Marshall got their 7 points in the fourth quarter.
There you go.
So yeah, I did see the Zachariah Branch highlights, and Zachariah Branch looked pretty good for Georgia.
Did he?
He did. He had.
What about who's their running back? Frazier, was he pretty good?
Let's see. So it looks like Branch. He had 3 receptions, 95 yards, 1 touchdown. Only three receptions. That's a pretty good game. And
that's
one of them,
crazy. 3 for 95 is kind of nuts.
And one of them was like a screen too. It was like a bubble screen.
Damn.
Rushing, surprisingly, Gunnar Stockton led Georgia in rushing.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. 10 for 73. That's impressive. And his long was only 14. That's it's very impressive.
Yeah.
I'll ask this. We'll get to this one, I guess, later. But do you think there's a select group of Georgia fans who are like, we should have pushed harder to keep Carson Beck?
I think after this weekend, there's probably a few out there. Yeah. I think a good amount of them still are happy to have him gone. Yeah. But I think there is a select offshoot of Georgia fans that are like, what are we doing? Why did we not keep this guy?
Yeah. Agreed.
Shout out to Dave, our good friend Dave Ocampo, his Oregon Ducks taking care of business against an FCS opponent, Montana State, 59-13. Dante Moore, I'll be honest, I was shitting on him all off season to Dave.
Played well.
I mean, it's Montana State, but he looked good. He played good. 213, 3 touchdowns, and he didn't even play the whole game. Their backup Novostat played a good part of the game too.
Yep. Oregon will be all right.
They will. I think they're going to be fine. They'll probably eat, like we were talking about this last week, probably the easiest schedule in the Big Ten. So I'm expecting them
or Penn State, yeah.
One or the other, yeah. I'm expecting with Oregon, it's just nice because you don't play Ohio State or Michigan. You just got
Penn State does play.
They got Ohio State still. Penn State
and they have to play Oregon, and Oregon plays vice versa. That's true.
So it's like if you're Oregon and you beat Penn State, you're probably in the Big Ten championship game.
You got a good chance, yeah. No, that's facts.
All right, another good one right here. Alabama, Florida State. Why don't you start us off? What happened with Kellen DeBoer and what did we see here?
Yeah. There's a big LSU guy that I follow who likes to say Bama is burning. I'm inclined to believe, or I'm inclined to agree with that. I think Kellen DeBoer, he started off his Alabama career 4-0. I think that's right. And one of those wins was probably one of the best games of the season last year against Georgia. And that has been the peak of his first, 14 games at Alabama. Because since then they are 5-5. They've looked worse and worse. They looked worse and worse as the season went on last year. Now, this is by no means an easy game. People thought it would be. They were favored by 13.5, probably because Florida State was not good last year. They were about as bad as you can possibly get last year. They had a bunch of turnover, so they had to go into the transfer portal, get a lot of new guys, including their quarterback, Castellanos. And but you're still going on the road at Florida State. But Alabama has opened the season with a big opener, I feel like, almost every single year since I've been alive. Like, we've seen them play Michigan week 1. We've seen them play a big game week 1 all the time. Even if you count like a Wisconsin, something like that. Usually they come in, maybe it's lower scoring, but they take care of business. They got pushed around, dude. They got straight up pushed around. It wasn't even the fact that they couldn't move the ball on offense. They were getting pushed around on defense. Guys weren't running in the secondary. The effort didn't seem to be there. And then Kalen DeBoer, I felt like afterwards, it was kind of just excuse after excuse. It was not the same old Bama. And truthfully, I feel like what Nick Saban used to always talk about, the rat poison. You know, people tell you you're good. You don't want to kind of feed into that. And that's how they always took care of these teams that like had a target on Bama's back and were coming for them and made it a bigger game. Alabama somehow always got up for those games, even more than the underdog teams. And that's how they avoid getting upset. This game, it was clear. Florida State came into it and cared more. They wanted it more. Alabama wiped it off. The one player was like, disrespect will be addressed. It was addressed by Florida State, man. And that was about as bad as gets for Alabama over the course of the last few seasons. And so they've had it good, but that was a bad look, truthfully.
I mean, to be honest, it was probably just the saddest I've ever – that's probably the best word I can put to it. The saddest I've ever seen Alabama look probably in my entire life. You had players sulking, heads down, did not look like they wanted to be out there in the rain. The Florida State players were having fun out there. They were, like you were saying, Castellanos talking all that shit before the season and before this game leading up to it, and they backed it up. Really, the game was over in the second quarter. Like they were only up 17-7, but you could just tell it was like this is just a huge difference in terms of like body language and just the vibes you're getting from Florida State versus Alabama. Is Ty Simpson the guy? I don't know. Looking at his stats right here, he actually didn't play horrible. His completion percentage was around 50%, 254 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think the bigger concern is the Alabama defense, because what we just saw this past Saturday was not an Alabama defense that we're used to seeing. You let a guy from Boston College who just came into Florida State pretty much do whatever he wanted to do against you on the field all game. So it's a huge concern. In 2 weeks, they're playing. They're actually bringing them to their crib. It's going to be Wisconsin at Alabama, and so I mean, you would like to think Alabama's going to be all right and they're going to win that one. But if you have another sketchy game, or even if it's a close one and you barely win, I mean, if I'm an Alabama fan, I'm super worried, and I'm definitely having questions about if DeBoer is the guy. I'm sure a lot of them are already having those questions. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it develops. The ACC, like we were kind of saying earlier, a lot of the ACC teams look pretty good this weekend, Florida State being one of them. Yeah. So you definitely got to throw them in the conversation now for making the ACC championship. Going on to the next game, I'll just kind of run through some of these ones that don't matter at all. Arizona State whooped Northern Arizona. Actually, they didn't really whoop them. They won by 38-19. So
I think it's closer. Yeah.
I don't know. Do with that what you will. Florida Long Island University 55-0. All I have to say about that one is I saw a funny reel today that I sent to the fellas where a guy asked the girl, "What do you think about DJ Lagway?" And she said, "He needs to play better music." And he goes, "No, I mean DJ Lagway for Florida." And she goes, "I'm just saying he needs to play better music." So yeah, DJ Lagway, maybe play some better music, dude. But aside from that, you're balling out right now.
And if Florida ends up being decent and Lagway has a good year, that clip's just going to be used 1,000 times to make some pretty awesome reels, honestly. And so, like, that was perfect soundbite.
It definitely will. There will be some sick edits to that reel if he ends up having a hell of a year.
Yeah.
SMU beats East Texas A&M 42-13. Kansas State only wins by 3 against North Dakota. So I think it might be fair to say Kansas State kind of sucks now. I know it's early, but they might kind of blow.
We'll do we'll do the giveth and taketh thing next week, but like I can't even pick them for that because they're just bad, I think.
I think they just suck, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you lose a honestly, a game they looked all right in Dublin to Iowa State, and then you come
I mean,
back
give up
home.
35 to North Dakota. How do you do that?
I have no idea.
It's terrible.
So yeah, Oklahoma, Illinois State. As we get a little later on, and I give my thoughts on Michigan, I'll get into this a little bit more. But
Yeah.
took care of business, 35-3 against Illinois State. I will say John Mateer looked great. Oklahoma did not really run the ball that much, though, or they did not run it that well, I should say. So that might be a little bit of a concern, especially when you're playing a team who runs the ball really well this upcoming week. I think I could be wrong. I can't really see it here, but I'm pretty sure Illinois State actually had more rushing yards than Oklahoma did.
I was going to say, honestly, because the rest of the games, I think it was like Indiana and ODU, Ole Miss, games like that. If we want to just get into Oklahoma, Michigan, and then I guess we could touch on Notre Dame, Miami first, and then get.
I'm down. Yeah. So the rest of them kind of suck. There's two. I mean,
your Syracuse Orange lost.
I was going to say that. We should touch on them real quick here.
Yeah.
Syracuse Orange, my team from last season. If you listened to us at all last season outside of Michigan, I was a big Kyle McCord guy, still am. I actually had a bet going with Dak last season if Syracuse would finish in the top 3 of the ACC. Sadly, did not win. That bet has been pushed now to will Kyle McCord be a starting quarterback in 2032?
Yep.
So keep your eyes peeled for that. Stay tuned. We will see. But yeah, Tennessee murdered Syracuse. The final score makes it look a little closer than it actually was. Tennessee looked really good. They were honestly just doing whatever they wanted to Syracuse the whole game.
Yeah, and who's their quarterback? Angeli, right?
Angeli is Syracuse's QB, and he actually led the game in passing yards. So I will say that.
He looked better than Nico looked in a single game last year. And so I know it was Nico's choice to go to UCLA. PFT called him, I am a receiver. I'm a Leva. But that was maybe an upgrade for Tennessee. Who knows? You get an ego out of the locker room and a quarterback who can get the job done. So, oh no, Angeli was Syracuse's quarterback. My bad.
Angeli is Syracuse, yeah.
Yeah, I was. Who's Tennessee's?
Tennessee's QB is Aguilar. Very similar name.
Yes.
Angeli and Aguilar. A lot of A's and I's in both those names.
Yeah, but the point remains the same because Aguilar was pretty good.
He was. He averaged 8.8 per attempt and 3 touchdowns. So I would say, yeah, that's about
not bad.
That's about as good as it gets. Who knows how good Syracuse is? I was hoping for a little bit of a better performance. I know you were as well. We both ended up betting on them. But yeah, it's not looking great for the Orange. Looking pretty good for Tennessee. That could be a team to keep your eye on in the SEC this year. And yeah, we'll hit this real quick before we get to Michigan and then finally LSU. But we had Miami, Notre Dame. If you listened last week, we all picked our lamest person in college football, and I said mine was Carson Beck. I'm going to stand by that statement.
Okay.
I still think he's lame, but you can be good at football and be lame. And he played a great defense. Notre Dame, I mean, we were expecting them to have a good defense this year and just in general to have a good defense every year. And he honestly played as good as you can play against a Notre Dame defense. It was a close game in the 4th, but I mean, he didn't throw any picks. There wasn't any moment in the game that was like, oh, Carson Beck, he's not the guy, or oh, he sucks. Like, he looked fine all game long. I will say too, CJ Carr, shout out Saline. That's where we went to high school, Saline, Michigan. CJ Carr, they did not win, obviously, but pretty good game for your first start, especially playing on the road.
I agree. That was maybe part of the problem, though, is like they just didn't get the ball to Jeremiah Love. He had 10 carries, and he maybe had a couple of catches. But going into this year, they said they were going to use Jeremiah Love a lot. And then week 1 on the road with your quarterback getting his first start ever and you throw 30 times. Part of that maybe is because of what Miami was doing, but still, it didn't make a lot of sense. I feel like everybody walked away from the game, and every single person said the same thing. They're like, "Why didn't they use Jeremiah Love?" And so that was kind of odd. But Mario Cristobal, he was great at Oregon. Finally built it up here in Miami. Listen to Coach O went on Part of My Take a couple weeks ago, and he gave the watch out for Miami, son. And so I'm inclined to believe him. And Carson Beck, I know you said that's your pick for lamest guy. I fully agreed with the take, but he was kind of balling out there. And you can be good at football and be lame. Look at Eli Manning. But he was kind of getting hype with his teammates, which makes him a little bit less lame. And so I don't know.
The buzz cut too. I think the buzz cut makes him a little bit less lame as well.
I agree. Yeah, no, it looked better. He had like a little more swagger back to him. Also, when you're not throwing interceptions or getting strip sacked all day, it's just a better look for the brand overall. And so we'll see. But that game was sweet. That was a good one.
We will see. I honestly, I will say right now, at the moment, in terms of lamest person in college football takes, I think mine is age of the poorest in 1 week. Joel Klatt, he was pretty lame this past weekend. Joe Tessitore, also pretty lame this past weekend.
I agree. Also from this game, possibly the catch of the year, C.J. Daniels. He went full-blown. That maybe would have been an interception by Carson Beck. He threw it off his back foot, and there was a safety, the Notre Dame safety right behind him, and C.J. Daniels just went full-blown OBJ. Like, that was crazy.
The Tigers. All right. We are going to move on. Second to last game before we get to the one everyone's waiting to hear about, LSU. We're going to talk about Michigan, New Mexico for a minute. So this was a very much anticipated game for me. I did not watch it live. I watched a few portions of it here, but this was obviously going on at the same time as LSU. We were out and about for that back at Rustic Tap. Amazing night, amazing game. As I said, Dak will get to that here in a second. He'll give you the recap. If you follow us on socials, you saw us jump in the pool after the big Tigers win.
Yep.
But yeah, in terms of Michigan, I think it's safe to say Bryce Underwood, as advertised. You have the New Mexico caveat.
Yeah.
It's not a great opponent, but the way the ball was coming out of his hands, the timing on some of the throws, I mean, it's probably the most impressive I've seen a freshman QB look in their first game, let alone a Michigan freshman QB. I mean, just his demeanor, he had full control of the offense, didn't look like the moment was too big for him at any time. And like I already said, caveat, New Mexico. We'll see what happens this weekend with Oklahoma. But yeah, I mean, you got to like what you see from him. Justice Haynes balled out, 16 carries, 160 yards, averaged 10 on the ground per carry, 3 touchdowns in his first game as a Wolverine. I mean, in terms of running back and QB, if you're a Michigan fan like I am, you're pretty happy with that performance. They had the one trick play to get the touchdown. New Mexico did. Score doesn't look too amazing, looking at 34-17. But like I said, in terms of what you saw from Bryce Underwood, Justice Haynes, you got to be feeling all right going into Oklahoma.
I would say Bryce Underwood looked even like different than advertised. I feel like most people, like if you're outside looking in, not a Michigan fan, most people like knew he was dual threat quarterback. And I feel like it'd be easy as a true freshman, like go out there, make it easy for him, use your legs a lot, run behind Justice Haynes. He threw the ball really well. And that's mainly, I don't even think he really ran at all.
He did -5 yards, just got sacked. He didn't actually run the ball at all.
Yeah, for most of the game,
carries, but those are sacks.
Those are sacks. Yeah, just stayed in the pocket. Didn't make any mistakes. He was super decisive. Like you said, it's New Mexico, but I mean, what more can you really ask for? Especially when your quarterback last year was Davis Warren, and you've had quarterbacks in the past like Threet and Shea Patterson, and guys who just couldn't do John O'Corn, guys who couldn't do anything but hand the ball off and turn it over. And so, if you're a Michigan fan, that's everything that you could have wanted. And this week that's a big test, Oklahoma.
This is the real litmus test this week. I think my confidence in this game, I am going to pick Michigan to win. I forgot what I said exactly earlier this week, but I'm going to lock in 27.
Do you know what the line is?
I think Oklahoma 5.5, but I'm going to lock in 27-24. Michigan wins. I think Bryce Underwood, there's a reason why we didn't see him use his legs at all. And it's because they didn't want to put any of that on film. But like we were saying, it's New Mexico. huge difference in opponents, huge difference in environment. You're going on the road at night in Norman. I'm sure it's going to be electric. But yeah, I do feel really good about Justice Haynes. I think, especially seeing that Illinois State was able to run the ball on, or Eastern Illinois, whatever that team was. The fact that they were able to run the ball on Oklahoma a little bit gives me pretty good confidence Michigan will be able to run the ball as well. It's really just going to be, and Bryce Underwood doesn't even have to be amazing. If he can be a game manager, not make any big mistakes, Michigan's run game and Michigan's defense should have them in a position to win the game.
What would you say your top keys to the game are?
I would say you can't let John Mateer look as good as he looked this past week. He cannot go 31-35. You got to pick him off once or force one fumble. The defense has to create at least one turnover. I'll say that. And then I think you need at least 100 yards on the ground from Justice Haynes, minimum.
I agree.
And then Bryce Underwood, I would say, can throw no more than one interception. He has to throw for at least one touchdown. And he's got to use his legs a little bit. He's going to have to use his legs in this game. Michigan's O-line, is it horrible? No. But is it the O-lines they've had in the past? Definitely not. So he's definitely going to have to at least get upwards of, I would say, like 30 to 40 yards on the ground with his legs.
Yeah. It'll be tough. Going on the road at night, that's a big test. Luckily, when's Michigan's next big game? I feel like you got a little bit of a break after this one.
CMU and then at Nebraska.
At Nebraska's going to be tough. Yeah, so this is big, dude. This is big. Wait 1 sec. I got to change I set up my family's fantasy league. I gotta change the team rules.
You were good.
The league rules.
Change your rules. I will go ahead and set the scene while you're doing that. So
it might be too late. No way, dude.
Oh, trouble in paradise in the Herbis Fantasy League.
Yeah, shit.
I'm sure the fans would love to hear your picks. So if you got to make your picks while we're wrapping this up, feel free to shout them out. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's probably too far gone. I'll figure this out after.
So yeah, Michigan, New Mexico. Bryce Underwood looked good. Michigan beats Oklahoma next weekend. Me and Dak are jumping in the pool again. Dak, because you got your fantasy draft in, you got volleyball here shortly. Give us the rundown on LSU Clemson.
Yeah. I said it to open this show. That weekend, week 1 was about as good as it possibly could have gotten as a college football fan. Had LSU not won, there's a 0% chance I would have said that. Actually, it was like 2 weeks ago. I said if they lost, I was going to get rid of my phone and go radio silent for 6 months because I couldn't do it. I just wasn't going to go through another week 1 loss and then the entire season just holding out on a hope that we were maybe going to go 11-1 or 10-2, make the playoffs. Couldn't do it. Clemson week 1 on the road is, especially because Clemson got moved up to number 4 in the AP poll before that game happened. That's as big of a test as you're possibly going to have, especially when you're replacing 5 offensive linemen, one of which was a top 4 overall draft pick in Will Campbell. That's not easy, but we went into the transfer portal and we got a lot of guys on defense and we had a bunch of weapons on offense. And so the biggest question mark going into the game was the offensive line going to be prepared to play together against what is a very good Clemson defense? And all of those guys that you went and got in the portal that everybody said looked fantastic through fall camp, how was the defense actually going to look? People were saying you could have a top 15, top 20 defense. What was it actually going to look like week 1 against Cade Klubnik and a really good Clemson offense with 3 really good wide receivers? And everybody knows Brian Kelly, since he got to LSU, has had some blunders week 1 where he's banging on the table. Pre-LSU, there's the big rumors, can't win the big one. Maybe not rumors, just kind of a scientific fact.
As it was put at Rustic Tap, the curse was broken.
Exactly. And we had gone to Rustic every year and lost at Rustic every year. And so obviously I was nervous going into this game. They went in, they had a game plan to run the football against a defense that wasn't very good against the run. and to get pressure on the quarterback and shut down their rushing offense. Because, Clemson's starting running back was a former wide receiver last year. They came in, they went down 10-3. They couldn't move the ball early, but they stuck to it. And then their defense suffocated Clemson in the second half when the offense started getting going. And holding Clemson on the road in a top 5 matchup, week 1, holding them to 10 points, that's everything that I possibly could have asked for. I'm not going to sit here and be like, we should be ranked number 1. We are the favorites to win the national championship. But I do know for a fact we have arguably the best quarterback in college football who looked very good. And if you give him a defense with all the weapons that they have, a lot of good things can happen. But it's a long season. I couldn't be more pleased with everything that went down. But like I said, you got a long season. You got an SEC schedule, which is going to be tough. And so we'll see what happens. But as Kevin from The Office said, it feels nice to win one. It felt so good. It felt so good. I poured beer all over myself.
Yeah, tell the people a little bit about what happened after LSU.
Yeah, you got to kind of tell them. So I poured beer all over myself. That was worth it. And then the band went and started playing right after they shut off the TVs. And it was The Boys Are Back in Town, at which point everybody picked me up and started tossing me in the air. And we got to find the video because somebody has to have it. But it literally felt like a scene out of a movie, and I was as happy as I could possibly be. It was incredible.
And we jumped in the pool after. It was on our Instagram. If you haven't seen it yet, you can see us very inebriated post LSU win after Rustic Tap, and we jumped in our pool fully clothed. Hopefully, we'll be doing it again this weekend. But yeah, I agree. As Dak said, defense for LSU looked great. The offense, you do have the best QB. Honestly, in my eyes, I think he just is the best QB probably in college football right now. In Garrett Nussmeier. I think everyone's a little sussy for Nussy right now. I think the Tigers, in my opinion, look probably as good as anyone in college football this past weekend. So congratulations. It's been a long time coming. I'm happy for you to have the monkey off your back finally. And yeah, it's going to be a hell of a season for the LSU Tigers. And speaking of the LSU Tigers, real quick, Dak, because I know you got to go. Why don't you give us your Dak's dog?
Yeah, Dak's dog. Also, I will say again on this game, at halftime, I looked at all of you and I was like, I think I have to go. It was 10-3. And I was like, I just can't go through it again. I just didn't want to do it. But everybody said we got to just stick around. It'll be all right. And I'm glad we did. Dak's dog, a player who he tore his ACL last year. He's one of the best players in college football when he was a true freshman. Coming into this year, he was given number 7. He was going to be a big piece of LSU's defense. And that was going to be a very key deciding factor on how this team was going to look. He was everywhere on Saturday night. It's Harold Perkins. He was all over Cade Klubnik's ass. Klubnik couldn't move the ball. He couldn't get out of the pocket. Harold Perkins was always in the backfield, swarming, making tackles. He was the leader on that defense with Whit Weeks. There was a bunch of guys that played well this weekend, including like Castellanos from Florida State. Mateer played really well, and Carson Beck. But Harold Perkins was everywhere, and coming off an ACL, that's an impressive performance, like I said, on the road. And so he's getting Dak's dog this week.
I think it's deserved. Cade Klubnik was running for his life the whole game, it felt like. Even though LSU was down in the first half, there wasn't really a point in the game where Cade Klubnik looked comfortable. So I think that is valid. I think the LSU Tigers are valid. And this weekend, we will find out if the Michigan Wolverines are valid.
I'm excited for that one. That's the one big game this weekend, honestly. And so
it's gonna be all eyes. All eyes will be on Michigan, Bryce Underwood, Oklahoma, and John Mateer.
Yeah.
So that's all we have for this week. You can expect us next week. We will have Noah Kreitz back with us, and I'm either going to be really happy or really sad. Great first week in college football. Hoping for a very good week too. Like Doug was saying, the schedule's a little bit light, but we got one big game that's sure to keep everyone entertained at least during the nighttime. So yeah, should be a hell of a season. We'll talk to you guys soon.
We'll get some live footage, some more live footage this Saturday.
We will.
And
win or lose, there will be some live footage.
Yeah, win or lose, some live footage. I'll try to get some more. And then we should drop some of the clips from Rustic that BSAP has, because those were hilarious.
We definitely will. You can look forward to seeing a video of Dakota holding up a camping chair post LSU victory.
It was legendary. All right. Great episode.
Great episode.
We'll see y'all next week.